Good evening. Welcome to Felicia Dependable Angel Services podcast. Today we're going to be highlighting the 4 P's of human sex trafficking. They are protection, prevention, prosecution, and partnership. Also, we will cover the 3 T's of sex trafficking, which is force, fraud, and coercion. First, we will start off with protection. Protection, proactive screening of workers, training frontline responders how to detect and respond to cases. Prevention, target public awareness campaigns to educate communities. Prosecution, identify sectors specifically practicing of exploration, development evidence-based policy. Partnership, build national and regional partnership between the key stockholders. So we're going to move on to the 3 P's. First, we're going to start off with prosecution. Prosecution comes into hand when you have to get the people covered and out of harm's way of them being victims of circumstance with this sex trafficking. So basically, you have to go in and you have to protect the innocent. Each year, there are 60,000 African American females that rank real high in sex trafficking. You have to do protection. Protection is the key to victim-centered approach that is internationally communities takes in efforts to combat modern slavery. Sex trafficking is labeled under modern slavery. Effective victim protection entitles victims providing referrals for a comprehensive awareness service, directly providing of funding for different types of services. There are many organizations going around now where they are tracking young ladies that are on the missing list. So therefore, that is a good thing. There's a lot of people that's going undercover and posing, just like workers or whatever, to get these girls out of these facilities, as well as boys. Boys are part of the sex trafficking too. Their rate is not as high as the girls and the females. Prevention. Prevention efforts are an equal important component of the global movement to combat human trafficking. Effective prevention addresses the tactics of human trafficking head on. So basically, you have to use the strategies at-risk population before they are faced with the deception recruitment practices. So what they meaning is we have to step into these schools. We have to volunteer our time. We have to start up mentorship programs for these children. The YMCA is a big place to start, where we have to volunteer and give our time, as well as start youth community small groups within our neighborhoods to combat this sex trafficking. And we have to develop measures within our system. So we have to create the paradigm under the 3 P's. We also have to work where we're doing our own policing of our neighborhoods, making sure children, when they're at the bus stop at 6 o'clock in the morning, that there's always at least one parent out there, that these young ladies as well as young men or young children are not standing out there. Because kidnapping is also a big high avenue of people, what they're doing to children right now. So we have to protect our children. So just remember the 3 P's: prosecution, protection, prevention, in combating trafficking in person. So basically, with force, these are the terms that situations where it's forced to do something against their will, or where they are tricked into doing something by someone who is lying to them or suppress the truth. We're going to move on to the 3 red flags of human trafficking. The red flags indicator of sex trafficking for sex exploitation: pelvic, rectal, urinary trauma. These are evidence of unprotected, violent sex or multiple forced abortions. Mental health issues include depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. What is the number 1 sex trafficking city in the United States? Well, y'all may not be surprised. I'm surprised. New York, being the most international, multicultural metropolitan in the U.S., with the share of poor populations and criminal activity. New York is among the top hubs for human trafficking activity. What are the top 10 cities for sex trafficking? We're going to see. According to the United States Department, let's pull up the list. According to the report of U.S. cities with the most reported sex trafficking cases are Tampa, Florida, New York, Los Angeles, California, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, Las Vegas, Nevada, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio. I'm shocked on this one. Dallas, Texas, San Diego, California. Human sex trafficking cases are investigated and prosecuted more than ever. Human trafficking cases are getting more press and legal attention in the U.S., and it's expected that more legal regulations and punctuality measures will be followed. That is good news for the victims of trafficking. We're going to move on next to hold on. Something happened to my page. Wait a minute, y'all. Going to move on to, let's see. While I'm looking for this information, I don't know, I lost my page on my tab. Sex trafficking is a, let's see the definition of sex trafficking. Sex trafficking, the act or practicing of illegal transporting of people from one country or area to another for purpose of sexual exploitation. How do you define sex trafficking? The term sex trafficking refers to criminal activity whereby one person or subject to engaging in commercial sex activity through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. Except that if the trafficked person is younger than 18, the commercial sexual activity need not involve force, fraud, or coercion. What does sex trafficking look like? They may exhibit submissive behaviors such as poor posture, downcast eyes, lack of eye contact, lack of facial expression, and may be easily startled. They may look to their trafficker to speak on their behalf. They may be unresponsive to attempts to communicate with them when they are alone. That happens before with young girls, especially when they're on that fear has been put into them. I'm going to highlight a couple of books on sex trafficking. Sex trafficking. Inside the Boss of Modern Slavery by Kara. Each year, she said, thousands of women and children are abducted, deceived, seduced, or even sold into forced prostitution. They are coerced into hundreds, if thousands of men being discarded. These sex trafficking slaves form a backbone of one of the world's most profitable elite enterprise and generate hundreds of profits for the explorers. Unlike narcotics, which have grown, harvested, refined, and packaged, sex trafficking requires no such process, can be easily repeated and consumed. This is by Sadita Kara. The author of this book is called Sex Trafficking Inside the Business of Modern Slavery. I'm going to move on to something else. Let's see, there are several books on that you can look on Amazon. And to correct y'all, that is a gentleman. This book is written by, not a female. Sorry. He has some ties to Harvard University education. He has an MBA. And I see where he's involved in a lot of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, where he's working on sex trafficking, modern slavery, child labor, and related human rights issues. So this is my first podcast on sex trafficking. I'm going to bring you some other things on sex trafficking this next week or two. So enjoy this short podcast, and you can go to https://linktree/dependable angel services to pick up a lot of other links that I have on my other social media. This concludes my podcast on sex trafficking.